Welcome one and all to the first episode of So That Happened in History, where we will be taking a look at one of the most decisive battles in the history of warfare, the Battle of Cannae. Fought between the Romans and the Carthaginians in southern Italy on the 2nd of August 216 BC, this battle pitted 80,000 men of the Republican Roman army against 50,000 allied Carthaginian troops in the floodplain of the river Aphidus in the modern-day region of Apulia. At stake was the Roman Republic itself and the fate of Carthaginian General Hannibal's Italian expeditionary force, which had dramatically crossed the Alps 3 years before. I'm just going to get this out of the way right now and declare a spoiler alert. The Romans lose. They lose badly. In fact, they lose really badly. In fact, they lose so badly that it is almost beyond comprehension in the annals of losing. They lose so apocalyptically badly that right now, in military academies across the world, a lot of people with very severe haircuts and very tidy bedrooms are studying how to integrate Hannibal's tactics into modern warfare. Here's how it went down. After a pretty intense face-off, Hannibal marched his army out onto the plain. He anchors his left flank on the river and his right on a low and unimpressive hill, which the Romans decide is some kind of force field, and proceed to squeeze 80,000 men into exactly the same space that just about fits 50,000. Obviously, the Romans know they're up against possibly the greatest general the world has seen since Alexander. The best general since baked bread. So of course they're going to bring their A game, and they're going to get this thing done properly. Or they could do this. The Romans are smart. They figure Hannibal will expect them to pull something out of the hat, so why not just fight like they always have done and see what happens? What could go wrong with that? Each army has a similar deployment scheme: cavalry on the flanks, infantry in the center. But Hannibal has deployed his men intuitively. Perceiving that the Romans are just going to try and steamroller him, he puts his Spanish and Celtic infantry in a bow-shaped line that curves out towards the Roman bone crusher. As reserve on each side is a block of Libby Venetian hoplite-armed infantry in phalanxes. The battle starts well for the Romans. How could it not? As anticipated, the Roman juggernaut rolls forward and crashes into the Carthaginian battle line. But its curious shape means that the Roman front line has to mold itself to the bulge, which creates a slowly compressing salient. And because the Romans can't deploy on a wider front, they have to fight the Carthaginians man for man, nullifying their advantage in numbers. Another problem for the Romans is that they had to vary their fighting styles to combat the Spanish and Celtic infantry. The Spanish had short cutting swords, and the Celts long hacking weapons, which caused problems on the front line. On the other hand, the Carthaginians faced the problem of endless hordes of disciplined, seemingly continually respawning video game waves that never seemed to stop. While Hannibal's infantry slowly gives ground in the center, on the flanks things have been hotting up. On the Carthaginian right, Hannibal's superb Numidian horsemen have galloped forwards and pinned down the Roman left flank cavalry with their hit-and-run tactics. While on the Carthaginian left, the heavy Spanish and Celtic horse have smashed into the Roman equities with the force of a pile driver. It is imperative that the Carthaginians make a breakthrough here before the Romans can break through the center. Luckily, fate intervened. The Roman general commanding the right flank was hit by a stone or wounded in the head and dismounted. In response to this, the Roman cavalry do something so unexpected, so diabolical, so reminiscent of the old idea of what lemmings used to do at cliff edges that it pretty much blows the whole show. Those that are near enough, seeing the general get off his horse, do exactly the same thing. In the center, the legionaries are so focused on breaking through the Carthaginian salient that they don't notice the Carthaginian cavalry careering gleefully around behind them to smash into the Roman left flank cavalry. But by this time, the curvaceous Carthaginian front line has come under so much pressure that it has been bent inwards to form a giant bowl, which was fast filling up with a boiling mass of increasingly desperate Roman infantry. But Hannibal has sensed the moment. Right now, he was the quarterback in the groove, the writer in the zone, and whatever else is a metaphor for being on the ball. Anyway, completely in control, he now ordered his phalanxes to advance to attack the Roman flanks. As they move up and deploy, the Carthaginian cavalry are positioning themselves for the last charge of the day, right into the back of the milling legions. Now the Romans are in real trouble. Although they could still break out, their own weight of numbers is making it impossible to maintain cohesion, and unit structures are breaking down entirely. With men so tightly packed they can't use their weapons, the dead can't fall down, and men are suffocating in the dust and heat. When they realize that they are being surrounded, forward momentum goes out the window. Everyone starts fighting for himself. Officers are dying, and orders aren't getting noticed. The phalanxes strike, and that's when those that can escape do, and make a run for it, before the Carthaginian cavalry sealed off the exit. This was game over. No Roman left in this vice survived death or enslavement. Their Italian allies were spared and allowed their freedom. 2 consuls and between 50 and 70,000 men were killed in a single day's fighting. 2 Roman armies destroyed. Carthaginian losses were somewhere around 5,000 to 6,000 men. The road to Rome was open, but Hannibal did not foresee the stubbornness of the Roman Senate, who refused to surrender and faced down Hannibal's army with a flinty resolve to win or die. Hannibal didn't want to risk a hasty assault. He feared a long siege, which would spread his army out and fix it in place, where fresh Roman armies could trap him. Without enough supplies, the surrounding area devastated by the Romans, and with his treaty overtures rejected, he continued his previous plan to wear Rome down, even though, as it turned out, his only real hope was to have negotiated from a position of strength, from the steps of the Senate House itself. Well, that was the Battle of Cannae. Thanks for watching this episode of So That Happened in History. Please join us again soon, and until then, please do the usual thing if you liked the video, and from me, never stop exploring.